You already know what it feels like. You get into bed after a long day, your body is exhausted, your eyes are heavy, and all you want is a few solid hours of real, genuine rest. And then morning comes. And somehow, impossibly, you feel worse than when you laid down. Your head is foggy. Your body feels like it never actually stopped working. And no matter how many hours you logged, none of it felt like real sleep. That feeling is not in your head. Something is actually happening to your body at night that is quietly stealing your recovery, and most people have absolutely no idea it exists. Here is what nobody is talking about. There is one specific habit that the vast majority of people engage in every single night, usually without even thinking about it, that directly interferes with the deepest, most restorative stages of sleep your body desperately needs. And the worst part is that this habit actually feels relaxing. It feels like you are winding down. It feels like you are helping yourself. But biologically, physiologically, at the level of your brain and your nervous system, it is doing the opposite. Before we go any further, there is a program linked down in the video description below that walks you through a complete sleep optimization system built on exactly this kind of science. Not guesswork, not generic advice. Real protocols that people are already using to transform how they sleep and how they feel every single morning. That program is not going to be available forever, and it is not meant for everyone. If you are the kind of person who thinks a little lifestyle tweak is too much effort, it is probably not for you. But if you have been suffering through poor sleep long enough to actually be watching this right now, then keep going. So let us talk about what deep sleep actually is. Your body cycles through different stages of sleep throughout the night. The deepest and most critical stage is called slow wave sleep, sometimes called stage 3 sleep. This is the phase where your body releases growth hormone, repairs damaged tissue, consolidates memories, and quite literally restores your immune function. This is the stage that makes you feel like a human being in the morning. This is the stage that most people are barely getting enough of. And here is the thing. You could spend 9 hours in bed and almost completely miss this stage if something is disrupting your descent into it. And that brings us to the habit, the one that is ruining it. Screens. Specifically, the blue light emitted by your phone, your television, your laptop, and any other glowing device you stare at in the hours before bed. Now, before you roll your eyes and think you already know this, stay with me, because what most people do not understand is the depth of the biological mechanism at work here, and why the consequences are so much more severe than a little bit of grogginess. Your brain has a structure called the suprachiasmatic nucleus. Think of it as your internal clock. It governs your circadian rhythm, which is your body's 24-hour biological cycle. That clock is exquisitely sensitive to light. Specifically, it is calibrated to respond to the natural shift from the bright blue tones of daylight into the warmer, dimmer tones of evening. That shift is the signal your brain uses to begin producing melatonin, which is the hormone that initiates sleep onset and, critically, orchestrates the transition into deep sleep. When you stare at a screen at 10 o'clock at night, your brain receives a blast of blue wavelength light that is biologically indistinguishable from midday sunlight. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus interprets this as a signal that it is still the middle of the day. Melatonin production gets suppressed. Your core body temperature stays elevated when it should be dropping, and your nervous system stays in a low-level alert state when it should be shifting into parasympathetic calm. You eventually fall asleep, yes, but the architecture of that sleep is fractured. You spend more time in lighter stages and less time in the deep restorative stage your body was literally built to prioritize. Think about how that compounds over time. Not one bad night, not a week of poor sleep. Months. Years. A decade of this pattern and your body has been chronically under-recovering. Your muscles are not fully repairing. Your brain is not fully clearing the waste products that accumulate during the day. Your emotional regulation centers are perpetually running on empty. Your immune system is functioning at a fraction of its capacity. And the connection most people never make is that the fatigue, the brain fog, the anxiety, the slow metabolism, the irritability, the stubborn weight that will not move no matter what you do, much of that can be traced directly back to consistently poor sleep quality. Not poor sleep quantity. Quality. And screens are destroying it nightly. Research from Harvard Medical School has shown that exposure to blue light before bed suppresses melatonin production for up to 3 hours longer than exposure to standard dim light. Studies published in leading sleep journals have shown that even a single night of disrupted slow-wave sleep impairs next-day cognitive performance at a level comparable to being legally drunk. Repeat that across months and years, and you begin to understand why so many people feel like they are barely functioning even when they think they are doing everything right. And here is the part that really hits home. Most people who suffer from this do not identify as people with a sleep problem. They just think they are tired people. They think this is just how they feel. They normalize the fog. They normalize the fatigue. They have been living so long below their optimal baseline that they have forgotten what truly rested actually feels like. They reach for another coffee in the morning and they push through and they call it just being busy. But what if it is not a busy life problem? What if it is a recovery deficit problem that no amount of caffeine will ever solve? Now here is where it gets more layered, because screens are only the most obvious piece. What you do in the 90 minutes before sleep shapes the entire night. And most people are unknowingly stacking multiple habits that each chip away at sleep quality independently but together create a compounding storm inside the nervous system. Eating a heavy meal within 2 hours of bed forces your digestive system to stay active during a time when your body should be redirecting energy towards cellular repair. Your core body temperature rises slightly after eating, which again signals to your brain that sleep time is not yet appropriate. Alcohol is another one that masquerades as a sleep aid. People notice that a glass of wine or a beer helps them feel drowsy and fall asleep faster. What they do not notice is what the alcohol metabolites do later in the night. As your body processes the alcohol, it creates a rebound arousal effect in the second half of your sleep cycle. You wake more easily. You stay in lighter sleep. You get almost no slow-wave sleep in those final hours. And you wake up feeling wrecked despite having slept a full night. Even emotional exposure matters. Watching high-stakes news, scrolling through stressful social media content, or having a difficult conversation within an hour of bed activates your amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, and keeps your stress hormones elevated in a way that directly delays and disrupts the onset of restorative sleep. Every one of these things, individually, shaves off chunks of the deep sleep your body needs. Combined, they can reduce your slow-wave sleep by more than 50% on any given night. 50%. Think about that. Half of your most important recovery, gone. Every night. Now let us flip this completely. Because understanding what is destroying your sleep is only half of this. The other half is understanding what actually happens to your life when you fix it. And this is where things get genuinely remarkable. People who consistently reach deep, slow-wave sleep describe a transformation that sounds almost too good to be true. Within days of optimizing sleep architecture, cognitive clarity improves in ways that feel dramatic. Decision-making becomes sharper. Emotional reactions become measured and calm rather than reactive and overwhelming. Physical recovery accelerates in ways that used to take twice as long. Gym soreness resolves faster, energy levels stop crashing at 2 in the afternoon, hunger hormones regulate, and people stop experiencing those relentless afternoon cravings that feel impossible to resist. The immune system responds within weeks. People who used to catch every seasonal illness report getting sick significantly less often. Skin improves because growth hormone is finally being released properly during sleep. Mood stabilizes in a way that often surprises people because they did not realize how much their chronic sleep deficit was fueling their anxiety and irritability. Relationships improve because they are showing up as a different version of themselves, a version that has energy and patience and presence. And the time math is undeniable. If you are spending 8 hours in bed but only getting 3 to 4 hours of quality restorative sleep, you are losing 4 to 5 hours of real recovery every single night. Over a week, that is 35 hours of recovery debt. Over a month, that is over 140 hours. People spend years in that deficit. The person who optimizes their sleep is not sleeping more hours. They are getting exponentially more out of the hours they already sleep. That is the leverage that most people never access. People who have gone through structured sleep optimization programs often describe the first week of genuinely deep sleep as one of the most significant changes they have made in years. Not because they did something extreme. Because they finally stopped doing the things that were silently sabotaging recovery and replaced them with a simple, consistent structure that their biology could actually work with. That is exactly what the program in the description below is built around. A clear, practical, deeply personalized framework for reclaiming the sleep quality your body is capable of. Most people will read this description, feel something shift inside them, recognize everything they just heard in their own life, and still not take action. They will wait. They will think about it. And tonight they will scroll through their phone until their eyes close. But the people who take action, the ones who decide that enough nights of wasted recovery is enough, those are the people who wake up 3 weeks from now feeling like an entirely different human being. The link is right there in the description. Everything changes the night you actually do something about it.